You want a job in Japan? Me too. Wait, I already have one. This is clickbait because I don't wear a suit to work at all, but you'll see why I'm wearing it. Let's talk about employment. So hello guys, if you are new here, welcome. My name is Allison and I have been living in Japan for almost 5 years now. And I get this question all the time. Allison, what's your job? Allison, how do I get a job? Allison, I want to work in Japan. Allison. So today, I'm gonna tackle the question, how I got a job in Japan, what my job is, there's ambulances in the background, and things you need to know about getting a job here or how you can get a job here. I'm gonna try to talk about things that aren't as obvious, and importantly, I'm gonna be trying to focus not on English teaching. I have made a video like a long time ago about getting a job as an English teacher, so if you're interested in hearing about that more, let me know, maybe I'll remake it. Anyway, I don't work in teaching anymore, and I know a lot of people, they don't wanna work in teaching, at least forever in Japan. Understandable. So let's talk about it. So first, I want to talk about my job history, my resume, basically. Sorry if I look like an egg this whole video. It's for the setting. So anyway, so first of all, let me just say, I know a lot of what I do, it probably seems kind of random or like, oh, I'm so lucky, look at this job I just happened upon or whatever. It's not like that at all. It's not like that for most people either. I've been following this path since I was like 16. I'm 26 now. So let's go back in time and you'll see what I mean. So first, I studied abroad in Japan when I was 16. I talked about that actually in a recent video about learning Japanese if you want to hear about that more. But basically, since I studied abroad in high school, all of my steps since then in my Japan journey have been carefully kind of planned, TBH. No, I didn't plan I'd get this job now when I was 16, but I always was thinking about the next step or the next 2 steps. It's not spontaneous, it's not random. I am a Virgo. And some people will land an amazing job right off the bat, and you don't need to be planning since you were 16, let me be clear. But you're gonna need something, and I'm gonna talk about that later, but my story anyway. So I went to college in the US, in Florida. And then from college, in my last year, my senior year of college, I applied to JET, and then I did that immediately after. The JET program is basically the most highly regarded English teaching path in Japan. It is sponsored by the government, if you don't know what it is. And I do recommend it. I had a fine time on it. It was fine. So I did JET for 2 years, and while I was on JET, I was studying Japanese, and I passed into, during my time on JET, oh, by the way, I passed in 3 before in college. I also studied abroad in college, but okay. So I passed into, did JET for 2 years, and then while I was on JET in my 2nd year, I applied for grad school in Japan. I wanted to do this since I was in college. So I got in. I went to graduate school at the University of Tokyo, as most of you probably know, because that's what most of this channel has been. I just recently graduated this spring. So I got a master's degree from there. And while I was at university, grad school, I was teaching English part-time the whole time. And I was also doing YouTube the whole time. It wasn't really making me much money for the majority of that, but it's not about the money. And also, I happened to somehow miraculously pass N1 just this recent winter. And if you don't know about the Japanese language scales, basically N1 is the top level Japanese test that proves your fluency or whatever. So I'm done with that. No more testing for me, I hope. And then I started job hunting in my last semester of grad school. Most people start earlier. I probably should have, but I didn't. You'll see. So anyways, basically during this last semester, I applied to maybe about 20 jobs. I don't know, maybe. And I did interviews with a few of them. I wasn't honestly interested at all in a few of them. And then I ended up getting 2 offers before I accepted my current job's offer. In these interview processes, it probably took about a month to a month and a half from start to finish for each job. It takes time. It's not just one interview. You know how it goes. So Allison, what do you do for your job? So basically, I work in a creative leaning job, I would say. It's not exactly creative. Maybe it is, I don't know. But I work at a Japanese company here in Tokyo, and I just do a bunch of different things in my role. So basically I do things like translation, events, project management, copywriting, social media, etc. It's very varied, and I know a lot of people don't like that kind of thing, but I personally do. I don't like doing the same thing every day, so I like it. And again, it is a Japanese company. It's not foreign owned. I would say I probably use about half English, half Japanese the whole time, which I personally really like because I wanted to use at least some Japanese in my job because I want to improve my Japanese more. and it is definitely improving again, finally. And yeah, it's not like a standard Japanese company. It's kind of more flexible, like encourages creativity a bit more. It's not an office building like in what you're imagining a Japanese office looks like. It's not like that at all. It's very like open floor plan, open seating even, like we don't have desks. It kind of feels more like a co-working space actually. And I can wear like basically anything that's business casual adjacent to work. So no, none of this, no. I feel very happy about this because I do not like suits. So that's my job, basically. I'm still kind of in training because I've only been working here for not even 2 months at this point. So we'll see. But so far, I like it. Oh, and a lot of people want to know about overtime because I know that's a big Japan thing. My company, I don't do that much overtime. Like really, like maybe sometimes. But so far, really the most overtime I've done is like half an hour, maybe. What I'm trying to say is there are good companies out there. Not every company in Japan is going to abuse you and hit you down or whatever. You can find good ones. So next, I want to talk about salary. I know it's a bit early to talk about this in this video, but it's very important because salaries in Japan are very low. So I am American, so everything I'm gonna say is from an American perspective. I'm comparing it to the US. I've never lived anywhere else, so basically I could probably be making double back in the US doing this job. However, for me, the quality of life that I get living here and even the cost of living are much better, I think. Like it doesn't cost me as much money to live here as it probably would even back in Orlando, where, you know, I'm from. This is like a big city, you know, one of the biggest in the world. So what I want to note about this is retirement can be tricky in this case if you're being a bit practical, I guess. Like if you want to move back to the US, well, the reality is when you're here, you're not going to be making as much money as you could be abroad. So just consider that. It totally depends on you. I mean, I do pay into a pension plan. It's mandatory. So there is like some savings happening, but just strictly speaking, it won't be the same amount of money as it would be if I was living in the US right now. And even in tech, you're not going to be making much compared to the crazy US salaries of tech, or I don't know, it's kind of collapsing right now. I don't know. But by Japanese standards, if you are doing tech in Tokyo, you're going to be living like a good life. You're going to be upper middle class, probably. Like maybe you'll be making about, I don't know, 60,000 USD, 70,000, 80,000, at least, you know, when you're just starting out here. But that 70,000 USD here is very good. If you just want to live a normal life, like you're going to be good. And a lot of people, they see the JET salary, which is the English teaching program I talked about earlier. The JET program actually has the best salary, generally speaking, for people who are first coming to Japan to start out. That is a very high salary. I was making more on JET than my co-teachers were, who were just a few years older than me and had like actual teaching qualifications and were working way more hours than me. But after JET, the reality is most people are going to take a pay cut, or it's gonna stay about the same, maybe a little bit more. It's not gonna be huge. And this is for non-tech people. So really the average salary you can expect to see is somewhere between, I don't know, 26 to, I'd say probably cap out at about 40 mon a month right after JET, which is like, I don't know, 2,000 to $35-ish $100. Most people will be making on like the lower end of that, by the way. That's just average. You can definitely go up from there, but like your first job after JET probably won't be great salary wise. Depends on you, but okay. Anyway, what to know before you start job hunting. So before you can even begin, you need a bachelor's degree. This is not negotiable. You cannot work most jobs in Japan without one. You will not get a visa. They only give out visas to people with a 4-year bachelor's degree. And the only ways of getting around this are basically getting married to a Japanese person, getting a spouse visa, or going to school here. And when you are job hunting, your company will have to like sponsor your visa. And a surprisingly large number of companies and people who want to hire foreign workers, even them, they don't want to sponsor the visa. It's very frustrating, but please look out for it. And when you are job hunting, your Japanese ability is very important. Tech, you don't need as much Japanese, but really no matter what job you're applying for, the better your Japanese, the better your chances. I really suggest studying Japanese at least in 3, preferably if you could pass in 2. And most people who come to Japan, they do start off teaching English, JET program, or just Eikaiwa, English conversation school, something. That is totally fine. Most people do this. It's fine. However, I wouldn't personally recommend working full-time teaching English for longer than about 3 years, unless you're also doing things on the side. Like, I don't know, you're working on your coding or you're doing YouTube or, you know, something. Because it can be really hard to get out. People are going to only see you as a teacher and you're not going to have much work experience. Things on your resume that show that you can do non-teaching things. A lot of people who struggle trying to get out of English teaching and finding a different job, a lot of them will go into like headhunting at recruiting agencies. This is a common path. You don't have to do it for long, just like 6 months, a year, then you can find something else, usually. So next, shukatsu, how to actually find the job hunting. So ultimately, what I've experienced, what I've witnessed here in Japan is that networking is oftentimes the key to finding a decent job, especially for foreigners. There's not as many jobs out there. Everyone I know, basically almost everyone I know here personally who has got a like decent or good job outside of English teaching has got it through networking, their friends, people they've met at work. I would highly prioritize this if you are looking for a job. Once you're here, you need to come here first. That's why most people start off teaching English. Once you're in Japan, you can grow. So especially in Tokyo, there are a lot of networking events aimed at foreigners. Yes, there are job fairs. However, really what I think is better than job fairs is going to things like parties, like a networking party kind of situation, or like there's a talk and then people, you know, stand around and eat afterwards for an hour, that kind of thing. That's where really the good opportunities are. You can meet a lot of really interesting people. I really, really encourage you to look around for communities that are related to your career path or interests and go to these networking events. You got to look around on Instagram and Facebook, I'd say, for most of these. The next best thing, or well, better maybe, is you need experience. Somehow. Best case scenario, you have actual job experience doing this job back home. A lot of people come here right after college, like me, and they don't have that. So what a lot of people do, you have to work on the side somehow. Even if it's not like actually like working on the side, you need to get your skills up. You need to go to coding boot camp or something. You need to learn how to edit videos. You need to get some sort of qualification, pass an exam, you know, depends what your focus is. But you need something that sets you apart, that shows like, oh, okay, you can actually do the job. You've shown me you can do the job. You have some sort of experience. Just something. It doesn't have to be huge, but you need to separate yourself from the sea of English teachers. Maybe you don't have experience. That's where the networking comes in. But how do you find the job? Again, networking, number one to me. But there's also job hunting sites. I used mainly like LinkedIn, Job, I think it's called, etc. Really, I just Google it. But what I encourage you to do is actually join a lot of Facebook groups where people post jobs, or just Facebook groups in general. I know like we don't really use Facebook much, but it is very good for the groups. Like for example, the After Jet Facebook group does have like good jobs in it every like now and then, every like 2-3 weeks, like a good job will pop up. And aside from that, I'd look for companies you're interested in and go directly to their webpage, see if they're hiring, even if they say they're not. You know what, just like email the person, email them your resume, ask if they're hiring, say why you're good for the job. Not for every company, like the huge companies, it's not gonna work, but it can work sometimes. Why not? But again, networking, number one. And while you are job hunting, even if you're applying for foreign companies, and especially if you're applying for Japanese companies, usually you're gonna have to do the black suit. This is a required wardrobe item in Japan. There's like a whole set of etiquette, what you need to look like for these interviews. You should look it up. It's much better than what I could explain. You gotta like tie your hair back if you got long hair, black suit, very boring looking. Personally, I just think it's best to be on the safe side and wear a black suit, even to like Western companies, at least for the first interview. You don't have to, depends on the company, but. So yeah, this is my video about trying to find a job in Japan. I try to give you like my general tips because I can't go into specifics. And honestly, if you're taking anything away from this video, let it be that you need planning, you need some Japanese ability, you need some sort of experience, skill. It doesn't have to be huge, just something. And you need networking. Network, please. I don't know, I'm calling it networking, but really even just friends, just make friends, just some. It's fine. So I saw Sarah do a similar video like this where she talked about her career and her tips. So that's what also inspired me to make this, in addition to your many, many, many comments asking what my job is. And yeah, so I've been working for about 2 months almost now, and I'm a society woman. Yay. So if you like this video, if you learned anything from it, please like the video down below. Leave a comment. What are your tips for finding jobs either in Japan, your home country, etc. What did you learn from the video? I'd really like to hear it. And subscribe! Please subscribe. Oh, I made a wind. Please subscribe to my channel for more information and vlogs about my daily life here in Japan in the future. And I'll see you guys back here again soon. Bye!